For centuries, it has rested in silence. A strip of aged linen, bearing the faint, sepia-toned impression of a crucified man. To some, it is a medieval forgery. To others, a sacred relic. But beneath the debates and the dust of history, a new convergence is emerging. One that bridges the cold precision of modern physics with the ancient architecture of Scripture. This is not a story of faith versus science. It is a story of resonance. When we place the Shroud of Turin under the lens of wide-angle X-ray scattering, vacuum ultraviolet radiation, and forensic anatomy, and then align those findings with the statistical patterns of covenantal text, a startling picture forms. The linen is not merely a burial cloth. It is a thermodynamic record, a transphysical witness. And what it reveals challenges everything we thought we knew about death, radiation, and the moment a body steps beyond the veil of space-time. Let us begin with the image itself. How was it formed? Decades of laboratory testing have ruled out pigments, scorch marks, and photographic techniques. The coloration resides only on the outermost fibrils of the linen. It lacks ultraviolet fluorescence. In laboratories in Italy, scientists have replicated this superficial marking using short, intense bursts of deep vacuum ultraviolet radiation. The energy required is staggering. Billions of watts, released in a fraction of a second. But what could possibly generate such a directed, catastrophic burst of light? The answer may lie in a phenomenon physicists call cloth collapse. When a body transitions out of our standard molecular reality, the space it once occupied suddenly becomes vacant. The linen, wrapped around it, would simply fall inward. As it intersects the radiating volume of a dematerializing form, the image is encoded. Three-dimensional data, burned onto two-dimensional fabric by a flash of transcendent energy. This is not magic. It is transphysical mechanics. And ancient texts speak of this exact threshold. They describe a life bond, a silver cord, severed at death. But they also speak of its reconnection. Not as a metaphor, but as a thermodynamic trigger. The moment that bond is restored, the vessel is no longer bound by biological decay. It becomes glorified. And the release of that covenantal energy leaves a permanent, radiant signature upon the cloth that once covered it. But if this event occurred 2,000 years ago, why did carbon dating place the cloth in the 14th century? The answer lies in the limits of the method itself. A new technique, wide-angle X-ray scattering, measures the natural aging of cellulose polymer chains. It does not rely on isotopic decay, which can be skewed by contamination or fire. Instead, it reads the structural fatigue of the linen itself. The data is unambiguous. The degradation pattern matches first-century samples perfectly. 55 to 74 AD. The cloth is ancient, and its age is only the beginning of its significance. In the architecture of ancient covenant, there was a covering known as the capreth, the mercy seat, the place where divine presence rested, and from which the voice would speak. The statistical alignment of the shroud with this concept is profound. It is not just a burial sheet. It is a propitiatory covering, a substrate where glory intersects matter. Just as the ancient covering received the blood of atonement, this linen received the blood of a prince, and then bore the imprint of resurrection radiance. The silence that surrounded it echoes another ancient vigil. 7 days of stillness beside a suffering body, waiting for the dew of restoration. The linen kept that vigil. And when the transition occurred, it did not decay. It transformed. From a cloth of burial to a precursor of the fine linen worn in eschatological triumph. The progression is seamless. From atonement accomplished, to inheritance secured. Yet, the shroud is also a forensic document. It maps trauma with unsettling precision. Scourge marks, puncture wounds, the weight of a crown. But when we analyze the physics of this suffering, a deeper pattern emerges. The data does not support a model of quantified wrath. There is no mathematical signature of punitive anger dosed onto flesh. Instead, what we see is the upper terminus of divine grief. A contact range encoding of sorrow. Ancient texts describe weeping at a place called bochim, a weeping that scales electromagnetically to the moment of resurrection. The trauma on the cloth is not the measure of a father's rage. It is the visible boundary where covenant grief meets human suffering. And notice the posture of the man. In violent crucifixion, the body typically thrashes. Muscles contract in chaotic resistance. But here, there are no struggle marks. The composure is absolute. This is not passive defeat. It is deliberate stillness. The forensic signature of an unblemished offering. The text speaks of a servant who does not open his mouth. Not because he cannot, but because he trusts the judgment completely. The absence of chaos is the proof of sovereignty. And when we look at the famous passage about being wounded for our violations, the cloth refuses to be treated as an artistic portrait. It is not a crafted image. It is priestly residue. Blood taken within the veil. The body remaining as a witness outside the camp. The linen does not illustrate the prophecy. It authenticates it. Through physical law, through anatomical precision, through the refusal of counterfeit representation. There is one more detail, hidden in plain sight. Recent high-resolution analysis has revealed something extraordinary. Behind the closed lips of the figure, the biting edges of the lower front teeth are visible. The incisal plane. Internal dental structures captured through soft tissue. This is physically impossible under normal conditions. It requires radiation with X-ray-like penetrative power. But forensically, it acts as a seal. A highly specific marker of individual identity. The statistical patterns confirm it. This is not a generic template. It is a named witness. A prepared place for verification. And what of the body itself? The ancient designation for blamelessness aligns perfectly with the marred yet perfect vessel. The cloth captures the exact transitional boundary between a suffering servant and a vindicated king. The imprint proves that the days were prolonged. That the seed inherits the promise. And what of the cloth's own journey through history? It follows the pattern of the rejected cornerstone. Despised, tested, scattered by skepticism, yet ultimately gathered and established. It is a witness for the treasured people. A physical memorial that challenges discernment. Radiant beyond human craft. Preserved for an appointed season. When we step back, the pieces lock into place. The X-ray crystallography, the vacuum ultraviolet burst, the cloth collapse, the dental signature, the covenantal grief, the statistical anomalies. They are not isolated curiosities. They are a unified architecture. The Shroud of Turin stands at the intersection of thermodynamics and theology. It is a transphysical record of a body stepping beyond space-time. A forensic witness to divine grief. A covenantal covering that bridges the ancient mercy seat and the coming wedding feast. It does not demand blind faith. It invites rigorous inquiry. And for those willing to follow the evidence, the linen speaks. Not in words, but in light. In structure. In silence. A testament that what was buried in darkness was raised in radiance. And the cloth that held him still bears the echo of that light.